moment there are 0 people watching us.
It's just us. We
I
can
always,
just sit here and
I always forget though that it will still be pre-recorded and people will watch it, so you can't just talk
you
about
can't just
nothing.
sit and wait.
Yeah, you have
or
to,
yeah, or
you have
accidentally
to
spill some
talk.
secrets.
Yeah. We've got 3 people now. We're not alone anymore, so that's good. We're here to do the new Pussy Bow Blouse add-on. Let's wait a little bit longer though before we talk about it in more detail. Just because I know some more of you probably will be joining. Let's see who's here. Hi Sarah, hello. So we've got Rosie here and Alma or Jemima?
Jemima's on the chat.
Jemima's on the chat while she's eating her lunch. Sorry.
Multitasking.
Hello there, Trisha. Hello. And then once Rosie goes back, you'll go back on the chat. Yeah. So there'll be someone on the chat. Oh, hello in Barcelona. What's the weather like there? Is it sunny? It's actually sunny now here, but it was so rainy on the way in.
Horrible, horrible.
Oh, and London when it rains, it's just awful. Yeah, exactly. People can't cope. Oh, thank you, Catherine. That's very kind of you to say. I feel like old Sewoverit today. I've matched my earrings to my blouse. Do you
Very
remember,
classic.
Do you remember when I used to do classic Sewoverit? I used to have like so many of these earrings that I would match to the colours of the dresses that I was wearing.
And lipstick as well.
Oh, and lipstick. That's true. Yeah. It's all for you. Freezing here in Liverpool. Sorry to hear that. Right, so let's start chatting about it. So we're basically, the Pussy Bow Blouse add-on came out last week, and to show you, I have got the version with the bigger, kind of a bit more 70s vibe in terms of the tie. So it comes with a thicker tie, which has got a bit more of a kind of shape like that. So it comes out
a bit more dramatic.
Bit more dramatic, exactly, which is a bit more keeping in what's on trend at the moment. And then it has a button-down placket, which is lovely, and it means that this tie is just slightly higher, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Slightly, it feels like it does. And then also comes with options to do a different sleeve as well. I did something like that, but a little bit of a. I think I did
half and half.
I did a half and half, mainly because I didn't have any elastic at home. So yeah, and I haven't got a tattoo. That's just a henna tattoo. Looks like I've got a tattoo, but it's not permanent. So yes. Have I forgotten anything else that's different? Oh, of course.
That's the main feature.
It's because on my cardi you can't see it. The main feature, the yoke, which is more
Can you
easy
see on this
to
guy?
see.
Yeah.
On this. So if I bring this nearer. Oh gosh, no, because she's got a dodgy leg, so she looks drunk. There we go. You can see it on this one. So it's got the lovely pretty yoke. Oh no, she's going to come back. Anyway, we slotted her in the kind of autumn sew-alongs for the team, where I'm making things for everyone, and I was going to make another one for me, but I was like, I've just made one for me. I should say, actually, this fabric is our Sunset Garden. It's a gorgeous viscose, and I'm proper chuffed because
it looks so lovely.
The matchy earrings, but look at the matchy with the cardigan.
With the blue as well.
Yeah.
And we've got kits for this one, I think, as well.
Oh, in this fabric?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I'm sure those are going to get linked up soon. So we decided, I was like, I don't need to make another one. So I was like, who wants one? And Rosie was like, yeah.
I'll have one.
You'll have one. And then yesterday she messaged me and said, Lisa, will you kill me if I choose this fabric? So we are using chiffon. I say we.
I will be exiting and
yeah.
Lisa will be sewing with chiffon.
But it is lovely and it is very you, and I can imagine you with black jeans or
exactly. I was thinking under my Roxy jumper with the big bow.
Blow out. Lovely. Yeah. It is another Suzanne number, I'm afraid, yes. So we've got but I was saying what's the challenging thing about this is, to me, is not so much the chiffon, but the fact that you can't see the right side and wrong side, so it's a bit confusing.
It's very easy to end up with like two left sides or two sleeves the same. So
we've pinned the right side of the pieces, but some people put chalk marks, but I want to do that on a chiffon just in case you couldn't get the chalk off.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need to mark it so it's obvious. What size are we making, Rosie?
So I have done 16 at the shoulders, graded through to an 18 at the bust.
What did you do on that?
This is 16 to 20.
Okay.
So what I did instead of using body measurements is what I usually do is kind of just go straight to the finish measurements and use that to work out what sort of fitting garment I want.
Because it is blousey.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, well, actually, I don't want it to be too loose. So I'll go down, or I don't want it to be too tight. I'll go up or whatever. And obviously, actually, one of the great thing about this new pattern is that there's a lot more there, is there?
Yeah, yeah.
Because of the gathers, there's a lot more. It's great for full busts.
Yeah, because I mean, I wore Lena's version, which I think was a 40.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was snug.
Yeah.
But it made me realise that I knew I didn't need that extra volume for the look that I wanted in it.
That's
as well.
true. Because also, I guess one thing that you would probably think about, I don't know, but if you've got a full bust and you've got gathers on there, that's going to add more volume.
Yeah.
So actually, I quite like that because it's making it look like there's a bit more under there. But you probably don't want necessarily that. So,
yeah. And I was thinking about that, and I often do it with skirts and dresses as well, because my hips are 2 sizes smaller than my waist, but I won't grade down 2 sizes because that kind of spoils the lines of the dress. So you don't always have to be like body measurements. I am 12, 14, 12. Look at the finished garment measurements, work out what you want it to be.
Yeah, what you want it to look like. And actually thinking about that, so if we think about a gathered skirt, for example, if you have got fuller hips and you don't want to accentuate that, I'm not saying that you should want or not, but if that's what the look you want, then when you've got a gathered skirt, you would probably reduce the gathers at the side seams, because that adds bulk. Where there's gathers, it adds bulk and volume. Whereas you might want to have them to create more. To
pretend I'm an hourglass when I'm not.
Yeah, to give that more of that. Yeah, so I think that is another thing. It's not just always about thinking about the size and the grading, but actually, is there any way you can manipulate or change things that work in your favour more?
Absolutely. And looking at pattern and thinking, actually, I love that, but I'd prefer it if it was a little bit different. You can just make it a bit different. You can make the fit how you like things to fit.
And I think that is a confidence thing.
Absolutely,
So,
it takes a while.
You wouldn't have done that the first couple of dresses you made.
I would have been by the book.
Yeah, but now you can see that that's what you,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Fab. What would you wear? You're going to just wear a black lacy bra under this, Rosie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably a vest.
A vest, or what could we wear under it that's in our collection?
I've got the elderly vest.
Perfect, yes, because that's
I've
thin
got
and
plain
strappy.
black one for that.
Have you?
Which the straps are quite thin.
They are.
So with certain bras, I'd prefer to wear maybe like a silk cami, something that's got a bit more coverage underneath.
You could be super snazwaz, and you could put lingerie straps into the shoulder seams of this to collect the elderly.
Oh, like the little
bra.
catch things.
So all they are, you can use just, instead of, when we used to make them in couture, we'd make like bias strip tubes.
Like a little bit of cotton tape
or something.
just
some cotton tape, and then all you do is you're stitching it in on one end, and then at the other you're putting a popper and like a press stud, and then the press stud goes onto the seam allowance and then onto the end of the little tape thing, and then you just basically, when you get dressed, you collect up your straps and you tuck them in and you click them in, and then they all just stay together.
Yeah, they're not wandering around over each other.
So at least you then wouldn't have two straps showing.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Tips from the top. Okay, I think that's everything we need to chat about. Is it?
Get sewing.
Get sewing. I've been procrastinating. Rosie's actually done me a favour because she's done one side. Maybe it's to prove that, this is how it should look, Lisa. Please to get it to look like this. Or we should actually say that you were kind to me and that you, I'm not asking me to do French seams.
No, that's one step too far.
But and in a way, obviously, most people would assume you have to do French seams with something like this, but you don't. And what we're going to do is a
overlock, but really, really
so shave
small.
off some of the seam allowance.
Yeah, and to be honest, when you look through, you can't really tell a difference. It's just a dark. Is that a French seam or is it overlocked?
Exactly.
I wouldn't know.
No. Okay. All right then.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you. So let's change the angle a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what's going on the table. Can you see a bit more? You can see a bit more. Because I'm going to use the overlocker, and I'm going to be using the sewing machine and the iron, although I am scared to iron this fabric. It's always a bit scary when you, this is a polyester, which means it would be great for washing and ironing, in that you could wash this and hang it up on a hanger and it would just be fine. It would be just dry properly without needing to be properly pressed. Right, so we've marked, I'm just going to triple check the side. So what I'm going to do with you guys today, I thought, is we could do the yoke, because it's always a bit, probably the most fiddly bit. So Rosie has already done that side, so that's right. So I'm going to do the opposite side. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do some gather stitching. So the gather stitching, which goes here. Now, when we made the toile of this, I tried it on. I'm our fitting model. I'm going to try and move that nearer without her falling over. No, come on. I just want to be able to show you something, a decision that we made. So I think sometimes it's interesting to know about the design process as well. She's very close to me. So when we made this, we had the gathers going all the way up here, and it just looked awful. It looked like this sort of pocket of of air kind of sticking out from the side of your boob. So we adjusted it so that the gathers are here. Now, going on from what Rosie and I were saying about, oh, you can change that up, but you can basically. So we adjusted it so that the gathers are there, but you know, you can always move them. You could move them further in and make them more concentrated, or you can move them further out as well. As long as you're getting, you need to think about the effect of what that will be. So if you concentrate them more, you're going to get more volume here. If you spread them out, then you know you're going to get more volume across a wider area. But yeah, we felt that the decision we made is more flattering for all shapes, the most flattering option. And that's something we have to think about. But obviously when you're making things at home, you can think about just yourself. You don't have to think about what works for everyone. You can just think about what works for you. So I'm going to put this onto a long stitch length. And then we're going to gather. We're going to do a row of gather stitching. So one at 1 centimetre and one at 1.4. So it's under the seam allowance, which is 5/8 of an inch. Hi, Laurianne. And hi, Lorraine. Remember not to reverse at the beginning, so then we won't be able to pull those gathers. Quite happy that you can't see what I'm doing. Let me just lower this down. Oh, hello in Canada. Oh, our lovely Nicole is in Canada. Now, there we go, to the other notch. And when you get to the other notch, you just stop. And then we're going to lift up, take that out. And then we're going to do another row. So when you've got something super light, hello in North London. When you've got something super lightweight and you do a row of gather stitching or ease stitching, you basically find that it just gathers up so easily. It's snowing. Oh, you're so lucky. Although you're like, oh, you say that, but actually once the snow sets in, we know that's it for the winter. It's raining almost permanently here, it seems. And I have to say, I take snow over rain. We always want what we haven't got. Ooh. Oh, hello in Ohio. I bet there's no snow there. So we have done that. So this is the right side. The right side's going up onto the table. I'm just going to pull those tails a little bit and gather it a little bit, and then we can gather it or adjust it a bit more or less once we can't see what I'm doing. Do it here, Lisa. Once we get the yoke pieces. So here are the yoke pieces, and I pinned these together so that I know I've got the pair. Again, there's no right side and wrong side, so that's a little bit of a challenge. Okay, so I think that's right. Yes, that is. I'm just going to unpin that there. So now what we're going to take, we've got essentially an outer yoke and an inner yoke piece, but the outer yoke, they're basically the same size, they're exactly the same piece, so you're cutting a pair, but you're going to create an outer yoke and an inner yoke, which is relevant for the next few steps after we've done this bit. So, but first, it doesn't matter which one, you just take one and make sure that we're going, I think with this one, we're going wrong sides. Rosie, you're going to have to check this for me. Are we going, I know it's wrong side to right side, but is it right side of the yoke onto the wrong side of the blouse?
Are you doing the first one?
Yeah.
Right side to right side on the front, and then right side to wrong side on the inner.
Yes, I'm doing the inner first.
Right side of yoke to wrong side
yes.
of blouse, yeah.
Yes. Confusing. Okay, fine. So, not that you guys could tell if I'm doing it wrong because you can't really see, but it's basically going to go the right side of the yoke to the wrong side of the blouse. I don't think it matters which way we do it really. And we're going to line up the notches. So there is a notch at the front edge there. And then there's a notch in the gathers that's going with the kind of corner shape. If you look at the yoke, you've got a sort of shape like that. And that is where we're lining that up to. And then that section is the section that essentially is not gathered. Hoping that's not too confusing. So what I'm going to do is just going to pin the bits that aren't going to get stitched, that haven't got the gathers in. And you do find when you're working with chiffon like this that pins do not stay where they should. They keep falling out. I mean, if you've got silk pins, then that is the best thing to use. They're finer as well. But sometimes what I find is I put the pin in twice. I sort of go in, and that will hold it better. Certainly if it's a pin that's holding something that's really important, like a notch to a notch, I might do a kind of double threading of the pin. Okay, so now I've got to adjust these gathers. I should say as well that Rosie has stay stitched this yoke already for me, just to help with it distorting. And you don't need to do that if you're working with a regular fabric. It's just because it's chiffon and it moves everywhere, the chiffon. Just adjusting that. Just want to move that along a bit. Take your time when you're adjusting the gathers because it's important that you don't get a sort of bald patch or a particularly strong gathered section in the middle. It's not even. You want it to be evenly distributed. Okay, I think that's it. A lot of pins. Okay, so we are now going to machine tack that in place, and I believe we machine tack it in at around 1 centimetre, so that we're just holding it in place before we then put on the next layer, and then that will essentially sit. I'm going to go slightly more than that. The only reason why is because this is going to be see-through. I don't want to have to take out that machine tack, and I don't want that to show, so I'm just going to go slightly closer to the 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. But make sure you're definitely within it, otherwise you'll have to unpick it. I mean, I think that is the whole point of machine tacking, that you unpick it, but I never do. I'm very excited to see this made up actually. I think I'm going to have blouse envy. Blouse envy. So I think this particular fabric's going to really show up the yoke detail. Although I'm not going to have buttonhole envy. Rosie's going to have to do those by herself. I'm not going to be getting to the buttonhole stage. And not that I don't mind a buttonhole, but I'm not too much of a fan of a buttonhole in chiffon. Not too sure about that. Okay, so just taking it slowly, and I definitely sew a lot more slowly when I'm using fabric like chiffon, because it does move around and it plays up, and it's just, yeah, you've just got to handle it very carefully to make sure that it doesn't move too much. Okay, so that was that side. Now we're going to go flip it to the right side of the blouse. Okay, and we're going to put the next yoke piece on top, and that's going to go right sides down. Now again, there's no obvious right side and wrong side on mine, so it's determined by how it fits. But it's going to go right side down. You've got your notches to mark up, and essentially the two yoke pieces now will be sandwiching the blouse. That's what's happening. Line up your notches. And just try not to overhandle the fabric. Be delicate with it. Get it into the position that you need it to be into, but if you overhandle chiffon, you keep moving it. So I'm very, very light-handed with this. I wouldn't say that I'm a light-handed person. Jasmine says that. She said when I brush her hair, she's like, "You hurt me so much." I don't know why I did her. She sounded like an extra from Charles Dickens of Oliver Twist then. But yeah, apparently I'm not gentle when I do her hair. I think it's usually because we're trying to rush out the door to get to school on time. Don't have time to be gentle. But when you're doing this, you will hopefully will have time. Be gentle with your fabric. Okay. So what this will mean is they will be sandwiching the layer of the bodice in between, and because they're going to be right side in, and they'll come up like that, and all the seam allowances will be inside. Okay. So we're going to now we need to change our stitch length back to a regular stitch length. I'm going to use stitch length 3, and then make sure you reverse at the beginning and the end. Make sure you follow that shape round at the edge here. Got a lot of threads there, so move them out of the way. Okay, there we go. So that now will come up. We need to trim down the seam allowances, but that will come up like that, and that forms your yoke piece. So we now need to do the burrito. I'm just going to, actually, before we do that, we need to do the overlocking. So what Rosie has done on hers is she's overlocked inside here. In there. I think I've done this wrong, Rosie. I've just had a mild panic. I have. I was thinking it's really not stretching, and I don't want to say anything because I think you might have cut a piece out wrong, but you've not. It's just me. I need to adjust it. What I've done is I've pulled it all the way along to the edge, and I shouldn't have. So I'm going to do this. I was just thinking, can I get away with this? But no. I was thinking the gathers aren't that much. There was an unpicker. Oh, there. Sorry, guys. So what I've done wrong is I have brought the yoke all the way to the edge of the bodice, but it shouldn't have been all the way to the edge of the bodice. So I'm just going to unpick a bit of it. Talk amongst yourselves. Ooh, and I'm so pleased. There's so many lines of stitching here. I don't actually know which one I'm unpicking. Oh dear. I should have had the instructions up with me. I've only made it once, and when I made this one that I'm wearing, we didn't yet have instructions, or we just had some words without the pictures. And yeah, never mind. Unpicking happens to all of us. Actually unpicking really nicely, because that's the other thing, when you unpick something like chiffon, you do struggle you worry that you're going to really snag it. Okay, let's see if that's enough. I think we need to do a bit more. I'm going to then have to quickly whip it all together really quickly. Whilst I'm doing this, maybe you guys can tell me if any of you have already ordered the pattern and what fabric you're thinking of making it in. Or maybe you've got something in your stash. And also, did you see the reel that I did with the Lizzie skirt? It looks like it's that faux dress vibe. So you basically, if you tuck this into a Lizzie skirt and they're all made out of the same fabric, it looks like it's a dress, but it's not. Okay. I think Alma put it up yesterday. Where was I? Here we are. I'm going to have to do all the steps again. I really hope I'm not. I can't be bothered to do that. I think the gather stitching, I'm a bit worried. I think it's still in there, just about. It's hanging on for dear life. If the gather stitching's in there, I think we're all right. Right, okay. Anyone watching this recorded after the live, you can have fast forwarded that bit. So I'm now going to pray that these gathers are still going to work. I think they are. I've managed to not unpick them. I'm just going to move that, and I'm going to be a bit confident, and I'm going to just sandwich everything together just so you're not waiting too long for me to faff around doing this. Okay. I think what confused me is the now I know what you mean, Rosie, about when you said, oh, I've done the stay stitching too much.
I went round the corner.
That's what I did. I went round the corner because your stay stitching was there, sort of just in the zone. I blame Rosie. Blame Rosie's prep. Makes right. So this is the bit that I did, which I shouldn't have done. Basically, I went round there and attached it, but you shouldn't do that. So adjusting those again, layering that back on, and let's Do it all in one go. I'm just looking at how Rosie's gathered it because I want to make sure that I do gather it very similarly to her, just in case she's made a decision of how to gather it, and I need to make sure that this one looks the same. I often find that if you put a pin in your gathers, you can just tease them along a little bit more gently rather than using your fingers. So I'm just going to have to tease them as I go around. Right, that's that. Put that back in. That's another bit. I'm struggling here in this little section where the gather stitching has kind of come out. It's fine, it'll be fine. If the gather stitching has come out, you can kind of, in those sections, you can just put more pins in and you sort of ease it in with pins. So we are working at the moment on sampling for our shoot, our next shoot, which is happening right at the end of November, and we'll be photographing the 2 new patterns for next year, and also something little sneaky something for December. And we've already sent the patterns or the kind of photos of the toiles of the patterns to our pattern insiders of the new things next year, and they're very excited, which is always lovely getting that feedback. And yeah, so January and February are starting off with a 2 brand spanking new patterns. So not add-ons, but brand spanking new patterns. And we've also got some new treats that we're adding in for our VIPs. So we'll be talking about that at the start of December, but yeah. Lots of nice things planned for next year. Okay. I'm just going to whip this through. Sorry if I'm not talking whilst I concentrate on this, because it's basically, I'm now doing 2 sections in one. Just want to make sure that I really get this bit right. There's a pin in there. How did you get in there? Sandwiched in between. Right. And we're now back to where we should be. Okay, so what we're going to do now is overlock inside there. And we're going to go nice and close so that we shave off some of the seam allowance, and then we shave off some of the seam allowance, and then it will look like, if you overlock close to the seam, then it will, oh, I'm using the wrong foot pedal, it will look like a, what's the word, French seam, there we go. Spaghetti junction down there. Okay. Okay, done. So we now need to press this up towards so that both the pieces are going up towards the top of both of the yokes. And we also are going to mark our circle. If you haven't already marked your circle on your yoke, you're going to need to do that as well now. Just get my iron to wake up. Okay, do a little press. I can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just gently pressing it up. Okay, so then we need to mark the circle. So on the pattern you'll see we've got a circle there. So we just need to mark that, which is at the centre front. Okay, lay your piece down. So we move the locker to one side and that to one side. And then I'm just going to place this on. Now if you've got remember the seam allowance has been taken away from the bottom of the yoke. So line it up with the centre front edge and the neckline edge. And then what I do is I'm just going to take this out. Now Rosie probably would have marked this had it not been chiffon at the point of cutting out. But if you mark this on chiffon at the point of cutting out, it's probably going to come off. It doesn't sort of hold things, especially when it's a dark fabric as well. You can't just use a regular marker. So there you go, there. Okay, so that's needed because we're going to do the stitch it all together with the back, and we need that circle on there. In fact, I probably need to mark it on the other piece as well. Just quickly do it on this piece. Okay, it's marked on both of them. Right, so now we're going to take the back and we're going to join the back. Oh, I'll move it all to one side so you can see. So if you put the back right side up, down onto the table, it's like sliding off, and then we take the pieces here. So this is, you've got one front side there. We're going to place it and we're going to go with the outer yoke. So the outer yoke is basically the front yoke piece. So that one, we're going to line that up right sides together. This is why I'm checking. It is right sides together. No, it'd be right side to wrong side. I'm looking over to Rosie again. Just think, let me just check.
On your first step?
On the first step, we're going back to the wrong side, aren't we? Or to the right side?
Right to right, I think.
I doubted myself. I said right side to right side. Let me just check. I have got it here. Da-da. No, the front facing up, wrong side up. No, that's the wrong step. Yes, it is. Right side to right side. Don't doubt yourself, Lisa. Right side of the outer yoke, so that's the front one, going to the right side of the shoulder seam on one side, and then we'll repeat it on the other side. Okay. So line up your edge there and your inside neckline. And then middle, and then maybe another pin in the middle there. So we're going to do that side, and then we're going to do the same on the other side as well. So you want to make sure that the yoke, the inner yoke, is out the way. allow it to sort of flop down, because you don't want to be catching that in. We're just catching the outer yoke. So the front yoke, so it should look like that. Okay. We're going to stitch this with, you can stitch it with a machine tack if you like to, because you're going to stitch it again. But just stitch it, make sure it's within the seam allowance. So I'm going to do again probably 1.4. And already I've got a little bit of naughty chiffon. He's trying to move out of his way, move out of where I put him. No, 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 Mr. Naughty Chiffon. Okay, and then the same on this side. Okay, I'm going to move the machine to one side, because now we're going to do our little burritoing. Let's get this to a place where I can see what's what. And again, this is going to be extra confusing because you've not got an obvious right side and a wrong side. Okay, so what we need to do is flip it so that the wrong side of the back bodice is facing you. And then we're going to flip that up. Oops. So until we find the inner yoke. So you sort of roll it up. It's got caught to something. Right, just bear with me, I've lost where I was. Let's start again. Right side to right side. Okay, so we're going to flip again. I know why it's confusing. I've got those two pinned together there to get that off. So you can roll up the back, and then we're going to roll up the front, and then the shoulder seams of the yokes will find each other like that. Just quickly put a pin in there just to hold it still whilst I do the same on the other side. So we roll up the back, and then we roll up the front, and there is the other part of the yoke. And we just join them up at the shoulder seams. Okay, so just line up the neckline edges and line up the edge of the shoulder, the sort of armhole edge, and don't worry about all this bit in there. We just pull that through once we've sewn it. And what this means is that everything is going to sit, all the seam allowances will be sitting inside and you won't see them. Just do this bit. I'm a bit worried that my chalk circles that I've just marked are already starting to fade. hopefully not for long. It will last a little bit longer. And if you did machine tack that last step, you need to put your machine back onto stitch at regular stitch length. So I'm using stitch length 3. Seam allowance is 1.5 centimetres, 5/8 of an inch. And we're just going to sew that in place. Taking those pins out as I get to them, but I'm also really holding on to everything so it doesn't move around. There we go. Now don't pull through, because we do need to do a little bit of stitching at the neckline before we pull through. So just go on to the other side and do that. That's marking that one. Right, so we just need to now find our little circles on our yokes. We've got to line those up. Shove that inside so I get it already coming out and getting in the way, and keep it in that burrito vibes. I'll just try and do one side to show you. So where the little circle point was, I'm just going to pop a pin in where it is, and what we're going to do is we are going to stitch, and what this is doing now is it's finishing the edge here. It's sort of bagging this bit out, because we will also put a placket on for the buttons, but this little bit here, there's a little section which the tie stops there, and then there's a little bit that needs finishing before the placket, and that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to come down and go across. So where the circle is, we're going to come down from the neckline edge, and then we're going to go across, or you can go the other way, whichever you prefer. I'm going to do it this way. So I'm going to come down from the neckline edge, and when I get to the circle, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to put my needle in, lift up, and then I'm going to come around. Now the neckline seam allowance is 1 centimetre, so when you pivot round, you should be pivoting round and lining up with the number 10 on the machine. Okay, and so what that's done is it's just finished that little neckline edge. So just turn it through, pull this through. Try and give you context. I'll just turn that one through that's not been done, and then you can see. So that is now, put it on me, I think that will help you. That is now the front done. Okay, so the yoke has now been done there. And then this centre front edge, it's raw here, which is where we're going to put the tie on. But this little bit right at the front has now been finished, that little section there. So that's the little section now. So now we can put the tie on to the raw edge all the way around. We've also got to put the placket on, which is quite simple. We're just putting the straight strips on and then finishing your armholes and side seams. But the tricky bit is the bit that we've just done. So I hope that now makes sense. And I'm sorry that I got a bit confused there with the joining of the yoke, but it's all corrected now and it looks much better. A bit more gathers than it was. Cool, so that's it for today. Oh gosh, it's already 50 minutes. That went quickly. So next week I'm back with Jemima and I'm making her a Nancy dress, which is one of our patterns which I've forgotten about, and it's such a lovely pattern. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and finished on Jemima. And hopefully maybe Rosie will have finished this by then.
Game on.
Game on. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Look forward to seeing your lovely Pussy Bow Blouse add-on. Don't forget to use the hashtag, I think it's PBB add-on. So over at SOI PBB add-on, and have a look at what other people are making as well. Thank you so much for joining, and we'll see you soon.